Welcome back to the Red Wings Report. This is Jeremy Lord. Just a quick update for the day, not a regular 7-minute Wings. If you missed it, Coach Todd McLellan did a presser, and he had some exciting updates, including Andrew Copp is now a game-time decision for the Red Wings. Apparently Copp is skating. He feels good, but he has to get cleared by the medical staff. Also, Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, he looks very close to returning. In fact, according to the coach, Brandsegg-Nygard is the closest of any player returning. Dylan Larkin was on the ice, but he's not quite at the stage where they're going to be asking him if he's going to come back. But it sounds like everyone's progressing, but especially Andrew Copp, who yesterday, when the coach was asked if Copp would be an option, he said he didn't know. And Coach McLellan's stance on it is this: if Copp comes back now, they want him for 14 games. They don't want to rush him back and then have him be injured right away and then out. And I agree. I think that's a good stance to take. So after practice, it sounds like Andrew Copp is a game-time decision. This is a big one. Montreal's coming to town. Some of the other things they covered, the press asked, JT Compher seems to be thriving. He's playing his best hockey in a long time between Kane and DeBrincat. So if Copp comes back, what does that do to that line? It sounds like McLellan is balancing that out, and Copp could well see himself on another line. They're also apparently pleased with the way Emmett Finney's playing up the middle right now. Looking at 4 games with possibly no Larkin, no Copp, and now Copp could be back, and it sounds like Larkin's getting close. Things are a little bit more optimistic for this team. However, and McLellan acknowledged this, for us to be talking about a Detroit win tomorrow, you're going to be talking about Gibson making some huge saves, because Montreal and every team in the league right now, especially in the first period, Detroit keeps having these sequences where forwards get behind the defense and in all alone, and Montreal is going to cash in on those time and time again. So the D is going to have to play back. Moritz Seider addressed that as well. Apparently Justin Falk is already teaching them some of his techniques for pivoting in the neutral zone, being more effective defensively, and not getting caught up so much. So it's going to be really interesting to see. But again, if we're talking about a Detroit win tomorrow, and this would be a big one for them to win, realistically, Detroit needs to try to win every night for the next 14 games. Obviously, that's not going to be happening, but they need to play like this is an elimination game. And if we're talking about a win, we're going to be talking about Gibson making big saves, probably keeping the team early. We could be talking about an Andrew Copp return to action wherever he slots in. We'll definitely be talking about the Kane, Compher, DeBrincat line, because Kane especially seems to have leveled up right now. He understands what's on the line. It's great to see Kane take on the responsibility and want to perform more. I also think, again, if we're talking about a win tomorrow, we'll be talking about David Perron. He was knocking on the door in the last game, very nearly got on in a power play goal. Perron's presence in the locker room and on the ice, and again, I've acknowledged this, I was not a fan of the trade when he came, but as soon as Perron gets in the locker room, he starts saying we are, and this is what I love about hockey players. He doesn't talk about the team he's traded from as my team. He talks about his new team as my team. And Perron approached the coaching staff and the medical staff apparently to push himself forward in his projected return. Perron wanted to be on the ice and in the room because he wants to help this team succeed. He knows how frustrating it was a couple years ago when the team was basically tied for points with Washington, but the regulation overtime wins shut them out on the last day of the year. So Perron has come back in, made his presence known, and he's already starting to create opportunities. If there's a win tomorrow, and I'll clarify that if we're talking about a win, we're going to be talking about David Perron, I believe, as well. This one's a big one. Right now in the standings, I'm looking at it, you've got Buffalo leading the Atlantic. How many times have we said that this late in the year? Very rarely. With 90 points, Tampa at 86, Montreal 84, Detroit and Boston 82. A regulation win tonight would put Detroit tied with Montreal in points at 84. A regulation loss tonight puts Montreal up to 86, Detroit at 82, and with Columbus just a point behind, you could see them jumping over Detroit sooner rather than later. The Blue Jackets have a game in hand. I mentioned this in my latest Hockey Hot Stove write-up. The situation Detroit's in now, I don't think their destiny is fully in their hands because Columbus, as long as they have a game in hand and they're that close in points, you have to rely on their outcomes as well. So for Detroit to regain control of their destiny for the final 14, it starts with a win tonight. And a regulation win, obviously, if possible, because you need to start closing the gaps. You need to stay as close to the top 3 as possible because the wild card spot is going to be volatile. You've got Columbus. I still don't think Ottawa is fully out of it. Philadelphia and Washington, they've slipped a bit. Anything can happen, but we're really looking at a race that involves Boston, Detroit, Columbus, and Ottawa right now. If you can beat Montreal tonight, you can put them in the wild card mix. But if Montreal pulls ahead with a regulation win tonight, I think you're down to those 4 horses. And Detroit, boy, do they need this one. Hopefully tomorrow it's a 7-minute wings and we're talking about a Detroit win. But again, the big news today that I got out of that press conference, Andrew Copp could be available tonight. Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, the coach, expects to be available tonight. They need to play their smartest hockey from the defensive zone to the neutral zone. If Montreal gets behind you, they have the highest shooting percentage in the league. They're going to score if they're 1-on-0. If you get some depth up the middle with the return of Copp, but you're still looking at that Comfer, Kane, DeBrincat line, and I think David Perron's ready to factor into this game. If Detroit can pull out a win, I'm looking to see David Perron helping be a catalyst to get that done. Hopefully that's what we're talking about tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, and tomorrow morning I hope to be back to the 7-minute wings.